Welcome to JTOL, Just Thinking Out Loud, where everyday discussion for everyday people are spoken out loud. Now here's your host, Sonia Green.
What's up? What's up, everybody? Hello. How's everybody doing? This is Sonia Green. I'm sorry, I had to mute something because I kept hearing myself echo. Welcome to JTOL TV. I am your host, Sonia Green. Welcome, welcome. I'm excited about this day. I'm excited, and thank you for watching the show and the broadcast today. Listen, hit that like button, share it to your women friends who think they want a husband, share it to your girlfriends who think they want to be married, share it to the girlfriends who don't want to be married, share it with your brothers, your cousin, your mama, your daddy, whoever it is. The point is share, and we got a lot to learn today. I know as a woman and as an unmarried woman, as my big brother Apostle Durrell has called it, he said unmarried. We ain't single, we ain't by ourselves, we just unmarried. So I use that terminology because it really takes the onus off, and it to me it's just not a good word. Single is one. I'm unmarried because I'm not single. I got all these folks here. So check it out. So what we're going to do today, I brought in some of my brothers so they can have this discussion about what a man wants in a woman. We got all these ideas, honey. We want him 6 feet tall. We want him to be like Idris Elba. We want him to look like, who's a good looking, like, we want him to walk like Denzel. We want him to look like, what's the guy that played Auntie? What's his name? I can't think of his name right now. We want him to have all these attributes. We want him to be Superman. We want him to save us. We want all these things. We want him to make $100,000 or more. We want him to have a car. We want him to have the house. And listen, we have to put some things in reality. What do men really want? And you know, the thing is this, what's so interesting about it is that we often have these ideas. Hollywood has created these ideas of what a husband or a boyfriend should look like. And is that really what we want or what we desire? Like, we can get with the finest guy and he can be horrible. You know what I mean? He can meet none of the needs that you have that will make you all one. So I got my brothers on here to really talk about some of the things that you know, what's perception is, what they get tired of hearing from women. You know, women, again, I'm sure all women have came to them and said, use my husband, and they're like, no, I ain't feeling you. You know, especially if he's unmarried. So I want them to take the time to introduce themselves, and then we're just gonna walk the room, and then we're gonna start the conversation. And listen, thank you for being part of the conversation. Can you start, Rod?
Did you say Rod?
Yes, sir.
Got you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sonia, for having me a part of this amazing broadcast. My name is Rodney Savage. Born and raised here in Muskegon, Michigan. I met my wife back in 1988. I didn't know she was my wife then. We've been married for 29 years here in October. So from 1988, we're going on, what's that, about 33 years of hanging out, of doing life together, of learning, of growing, of adapting. And so I'm excited to be a part of this broadcast as well.
Boyd.
Hello, my name is Boyd Uden, and I want to thank you, Sonia, for inviting me to be a part of this. I grew up in Detroit, left at an early age to join the United States Air Force, spent 20 years in the United States Air Force, retired in 1999. I met my wife in 2009. And 4 months after I met her, I made her my wife because I knew it at the point that I met her, she was what I was looking for.
Ooh, man, that was woo. Go ahead. Make me want to just woo. Go ahead. Ryan, is he froze?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hey everybody, I'm Ryan. Thank you, Apostle Sonia, for letting me be a part of this panel. I've been married for 5 years, known my wife for 11 years. Originally from Chicago, went to Philadelphia with my father when I was 15, and my family came over about a year later, and I met my wife at Temple University in Philadelphia. And we've been together for we've been married for 5 years.
Apostle Darrell.
Thank you. Thank you for having me to be a part of this illustrious panel. I'm Darrell O'Neal from Chicago, Illinois. My wife is Denise O'Neal. We've been married now 38 years, but 2 times. We were married for 6.5 years, separated, divorced, and remarried. And so through that, I've gained a great insight into relationships. It's why I love ministering to the unmarried. And let's talk tonight.
All right, I love it. Now, I just want to put this disclaimer up here. I did have unmarried men come on, my nephew and Rod's son. So I'm gonna tell you the truth. I'm gonna tell you what happened. Rod's son thought we were going. He said, "I ain't coming on there because all the women gonna be wanting me." He said, "I'm just gonna be late." I'm just joking. He had to work, and he had got off work late, so he won't be making it. I'm not sure where my nephew is at, but you know what? The show must go on because he's smart. God is very smart, but we probably don't need to hear from them because we probably got enough season up here, and to hear what we need to hear. So listen. I just want to thank you all for taking the time out. First of all, I just want to say I really appreciate you all taking the time out to have this discussion, to really bring some clarity to a subject that as women we have struggled with, we have fought with, we have debated over, we have listened to other women tell us how, we've heard some men tell us this, and so we just want to make sure that we got all the ingredients to be able for someone to find us, right? And so I was just thinking about all these things that, Steve Harvey wrote that book. What's the name of that book? Think Like a Man. Well, I don't want to think like a man. I really don't. And I get the premise of the book. The book is to say what men want in a woman. That's what he said, but we don't want a man to just want us as a woman. We want a man to seek us as wives. And can I get a boom shakalaka boom?
Amen.
Okay. And so I just want, so when you guys, can I just ask something? So what's one of the things that's very important, or something that's desirable, or something that would make you be attracted? What would men look for in a woman? What's the first thing that they look for when they see a woman? Besides we know the beauty, but what else? What would make you look at a woman? If she coming out with a rag on her head, if she coming out with house shoes on, if she coming out with those what you call those things that's real tight on your legs, tights, those tights. I can't think of those. I can't think of the name. Leggings, and they. Yes, they coming out with them leggings on and a little bitty shirt. Is that attractive to a man who's seeking a wife? Not seeking somebody he can rock with and, call at 2:00 in the morning, but seeking a wife. Anybody?
I'll let those guys go, mainly because I don't think I was ever looking for a wife. I don't think in the African-American community, and I'm not speaking for all men, but I just know I didn't know how to go from having a girlfriend, from dating. I never knew how to go from there to having a wife. My dad set me down. One day he was barbecuing and I was over there. I was 26 years old, and my wife, Siobhan, we had been together for about 3 years. And my dad loved her. My grandmother loved her. My family loved her. I loved her. But it was not clicking in my head to make the next step. It never, Sonia, it never entered my mind. My dad finally said, dude, you can't just date. That can't be your girlfriend forever. He hit me like that. He was like, you have to, it's time for you to get married. And that started the wheels to moving in my mind. So I don't know what I'm, as far as looking for a wife, I know the type of person that I want to spend my life with, spend time with. But first and foremost, I think we have to change the culture and teach men that it's honorable to be married.
Tell the truth, because they don't have no favor until they marry us. Go on. Next. Anybody else want to answer that question?
Yeah, I'll jump in. Situations will dictate attraction, because sometimes you may see somebody that's not dressed at their best, but you're attracted to them. But then it has to be something that beyond the attraction. Piggybacking on what Rodney just said, I got married this time at a later age, and I was looking for a wife.
Okay.
But I had gone around, but I had been experienced. I was in my late 40s at this point, and I had had a little bit of experience, and I had understood what it was to be in a failed marriage. But I also understood what it was that I wanted. And I think the key for men is, first of all, you have to understand and know yourself. Know what you're going to do, what you're going to bring to the table, and how you're going to approach it. Because when me and my wife got married, when we first started talking about it, it was all about the commitment. Because beauty is one thing. Commitment is the key, the linchpin. You have to be able to understand that once you step into this, I'm in this for life.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
Anybody else? Daryl, you had something to say, Pastor Daryl?
I was going to probably say that I think that, again, since you have several of us who are pretty seasoned, I think the perspective that we have now, and what I talk to unmarried people about all the time, is the need to value being a friend. I believe that I believe that when two people are considering sharing life together, you want to do it with your best friend. And I think that, unfortunately, because of the culture that we're in, number one, men don't have a consistent place where they can be taught how to be a friend. Ladies need to understand that because it's a partnership. We are working together. It's not a competition. And what I find is a key component to a lifelong relationship. Someone is going to have to often be willing to sacrifice. And of course, you know, my vocation, Jesus says this: greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friend. And there is a sacrificial component that is connected with friendship, that when times get tough, somebody's got to be willing to die so the relationship can live.
What about you, sir? Ryan?
Yeah, I totally agree with what Apostle Daryl just said. Even with we were friends before we got married, and that has been the foundation of our relationship. However, another thing I want to add is that how does the woman that you're pursuing or you're considering, how does she interact with people? How's her interactions with her parents? How her interactions with her friends? How interactions with how her interactions with the people on the street, with waiters, and that's one of the key components that you'll be able to find how people act with someone is take them to a restaurant, see how they their interactions with the waiter or the waitresses. Man, you'll find out a lot because if they treat them nice, if they tip. You'll just be able to find out a lot of different things when you are in different scenarios. And so maybe y'all might be in a situation where you are in trouble. See how she acts under their circumstances. Because in marriage, there are going to be tons of moments when you're going to be under pressure. So you need to be able to see how that individual acts under pressure. Yeah.
You're kind of smart, Ryan. I'm gonna have to give you. I told you I'm gonna come up there and steal you and put y'all in my trunk, lock y'all in my basement. So, excuse me for coughing in your ears. So that's some very good points, and I really thank you all for putting some food for thought. So it's basically, I'm gonna look at it like this: like basically when you buy a house, you go look at the house when nobody's on it in the times of when it's raining? Where does the water handle? Where's the water pooling at? Is it, is my house the center where all the water strags at? So you just basically examining the life and how they act outside of, other words, we can't put on our good face, right? You want to see what we really like when times are trouble, when times are hard. Are you mean to your friends? How do you act around your friends? Do you be tripping? Do you change into another person, or do you really change into yourself when other people are around and it's just not me and you? So let me ask you this, guys. So, because I like Rod said he didn't even know that Savage, I call his wife Savage, that Savage was his wife. He was just like, well, we got a good relationship. We kicking it out. Hey, he didn't even think about marriage. Did you guys ever think about marriage? Did you say, well, I should marry her, or do I, is this the one for me? Or you're like, this is good like it is. I don't want to mess it up. Okay. Go ahead. Yes, sir.
I will say that I can actually say that I was thinking about a wife, but I was still deficient in what my mind was. I had a religious mentality. I was going to church. It's better to marry than to burn with lust. And so I was a virgin when I was, when I was that age before I got married. And I had been involved in relationships where there was heavy petting. And the reality is that during that season of my life, I didn't want to die and go to hell over a piece of the cookie. And so, unfortunately, that was my motivation. And with that being the case, I didn't realize that I had not yet become a husband, because once I got married, I was a married man, but I was still thinking like an unmarried man. That's a whole other conversation. But I wanted to be married, but I didn't realize that most of my thinking and my behaviors were as an unmarried man, even after I got married, and it put great stress on the relationship.
Wow, that's a comma right there. We'll come back to that.
Yes. For me, I wasn't saved when I met my girlfriend at that time, who became my wife. And so a real honest answer is no, I wasn't looking for a wife. The reality is, why would I look for a wife when I got all these women that I can have? Why would I want to settle down with one person when it's all these beautiful women out here that I can have, that I can enjoy, that I can move with, that offer different things for my pleasure? That was a worldly mentality that I had. So my goal, I'll help somebody. My goal was to get into this relationship, spend time, give her everything I had, take everything she has to offer, have a great, great time, and then move on. That was my goal. That's how I lived my life. I'm gonna give you everything except a ring. I'm not even thinking about it. Our conversation and life and joy and pleasure and fun may get to the point where you're probably thinking, yeah, this could be my husband. But being somebody's husband was not in my game plan. And so 3 years into this, let me just say it this way. And first it's going to sound wrong, but give me a second. I couldn't get rid of her. In other words, I couldn't get her out of my mind. I couldn't get rid of her. I mean, I tried to move on. I tried to figure out, how do I get out of this relationship so I can move on? But her humor, her personality, her kindness would not let me let go until I realized, interesting, she must be the one. I don't think if I moved on, I will find anybody better. But that all happened probably right before. We're 3 years in now. That's just starting to happen at that point. At that point, I realized maybe I matured, maybe something hit me on the head, maybe my dad's advice. But that's how it happened for me. I tried I was like, if I can just get out of this one, I could probably buy myself about 10 more years of being single.
Wow.
but it didn't happen. I didn't get out of it, and I'm so thankful that I didn't.
Anybody else?
Yeah, and like I said in my introduction, at the time I met my wife, I was looking for my wife,
Okay.
and I'd gone out on a lot of first dates because I had an idea of what I wanted in a wife. And the great thing about my wife is we spent the first 2 months talking on the phone. Never met in person. We spent the first 2 months talking on the phone because we met online. So I got a chance to talk to her, find out about her, listen to the things that make her mad, that make her happy. And we just got a chance to just, through that conversation, getting a chance to know each other. And then we developed that friendship. And then that friendship became a little bit more. And when we finally got a chance to actually meet, that exploded. He's like, okay. 2 weeks after we met in person, I told her I was leaving to go out of town. And before I got on the plane, I said, I'm going to make you my wife. Because we had gone in the 2 months to becoming best friends. And in the 2 weeks, I figured out, this is what I wanted to do. Now, she hadn't gotten to that point. So it was work for me. And one of the things that we have to do as men is once we understand where we are and where we want to go, then we can follow that focus, and that sounds like what Rodney did. He was trying to do things his way, but wait a minute. He said, this is it. When you get to the point where this is the one. Most of us have hit that point. This is the one. And that's where we're going to go.
So then if I can jump in right on there, because we've got this question about what am I talking about with the sacrifice piece. At that point, both of the gentlemen are now willing to lay their life down. They're ready now to sacrifice. They're getting ready to become selfless. They've been going on. They knew what they wanted. They were going about what they wanted. But in a relationship, if it's going to have life, what these fine gentlemen are saying, and it's the same on the other side, women must recognize that there is this posture of humility that says it's no longer what I want. It's what my partner, what my best friend, what my helper, what my teammate. And in that moment, that will give life and birth to what we're hearing, these wonderful marriages that both of my brothers have.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. I just want to touch on something that Rod said. So basically, maybe from a woman's perspective. So let's say we're with someone and he's not sure. Y'all done been together 550 years and he's not ready to get married. So should she stay with him or should she leave him? How if a woman, because sometimes women be like, well, I done been with him all this time, but they never get married. Then he dies, that investment, she don't get no insurance. She don't get the house. She don't get the car. She get everything a side piece has. So what's your thought on should a woman, if in my mind, I'd be like, I'm not staying here all this time. So is that saying that if you let it go to come back? Because I heard Rod say, well, I couldn't get her out of my mind. So is that something, do you all, like Daryl said, listen, and Boy said, is it that you had a plan first? Like you had to get a house, you had to get a car, you had to have these things in order before the wife came. Is that something that you guys do?
I'll start off. So for me, I knew that I wanted to be, and I think for most men, they want to be quote unquote financially stable before they add a wife into their life. If that was the case for me, I wanted to make sure that I was financially stable. But with my wife, we had been friends for a while, and then I began for 2-3 years. She actually broke up with me because she felt like it was too long. And I'll say this for women in general, you shouldn't have to wait forever because you're losing your prime years It could be someone else out there, and you don't want to feel like you're wasting your time. But even in that, you want to say, a lot of people feel like they've invested a lot as people may stay in relationships. And so one of the main things that you definitely want to have the mindset of, and you want to have the conversation is, what is the purpose of this relationship? Are we just friends? Are we looking to marriage? And as a man, the man should be the one bringing that conversation up, because sometimes when women bring that up, it might cause the man to be caught off guard. And so you just have to be willing to have that conversation. And so just know usually the man will bring it up, and if the man brings it up, then you're in the green.
That's good.
Yeah. So I remember John Legend and Christy Teigen. Y'all remember them too? So I remember their relationship. I didn't know anything about Christy Teigen. I'm not a big John Legend fan. So, but this subject came up with them. So they had been kicking for a minute, and she was like, "I'm ready to get married," and he didn't want to get married. So she broke up with him. And she said to him, "If you either you're going to marry me or you're going to keep it moving."
Yeah.
Go ahead, Apostle Durr.
So one of the things that I believe about the character trait of love is that love commits. Love always commits. That again is that part of sacrifice. I have two definitions that I use when it comes to love and lust. Love, I say, is the desire to benefit another. Love is my desire to benefit another at my expense. And the way that I demonstrate that is with sacrificial commitment. Lust is my desire to benefit myself at your expense with no commitment to you. And so when people really come to the idea of perhaps considering, what is love? Am I really in a love relationship or a lust relationship? Are we just in this? And I think that in relationships, both parties have to bring their big boy and big girl britches to have those honest conversations, as Ryan was saying. And what I find is that dating is the place where there is the most deception, because in dating, everybody is trying to put their best foot forward. Right. And there's a whole lot of deceiving going on, which is why stuff goes down after the marriage happened, because nobody was really telling the truth.
Right.
Yes. Yes. Okay. We're just going to take just a station identification break, just a quick 30 seconds. So again, so we have a couple of questions. We still haven't. I want to just, what I'm trying to really get to, because we as women, we got all these perceptions, what we want in a man. And then we tend to go out and look for that man that we have in our head. In other words, Anita Baker says, what's that? She never told me that what's the name of the song? Fairy Tales. Thank you. The song Fairy Tales. And Anita Baker said, "I didn't know. My mama never told me all this. She always told me he would come and ride on this shiny horse." America says that. We see that in Cinderella. We have all these great dreams, and come to find out, he's not the prince. He's the one. He's the one that's crazy. You know what I mean? That came out of the mental institution. So, can I ask you something? Thank you. I love Holy Spirit. What do you think of a woman who tries to, we get in these relationships and we say, well, we know he's crazy, but we know we're gonna change him. What do you think of that? I see women do that. I know women who've done that. What's your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are, you're not going to change him, man. You're not going to change him. He is who he is. What changes him is, and I really think, I'll say this. I think most men are looking for kindness, women that are very kind. Because if you're going to have children, you're looking for that nurturing part of a woman. And you really also realize that your first love was your mother or your grandmother, who was very nourishing. So men want that support. They want very kind women. Most men want to feel like they're needed. So if you're connected with a woman that's super independent, really don't need you, and let you know she don't need you, well, then she's probably only going to get that part of you that she thinks she needs, and you're not going to fully commit to it. I see we've got one person that says men know if they're going to marry a person. I would disagree with that. I've never met. If you're in your 40s, you probably know. But I'm talking about somebody that's 22, 23, 25, 27. They don't know just yet. They're going to their 20s, and when you get in your 50s, like I am right now, you realize in your 20s you didn't know nothing. You realize in your 20s you didn't have a clue for real. You went through it, but you realize you didn't have a clue. And so a man that's 26, 27, they don't really know what they want. They don't really know what they're looking for. So I think for a woman, my advice would be to be kind, to be loyal, because men are really looking for somebody who has their back. Because as an African-American man, the world is going to let you know you're on your own. We don't have your back. And coming from being a basketball, football star, or high school that teaches you, we'll support you, we'll celebrate you, we'll come to the games and watch you, we'll know your name, and then you graduate high school and enter into the world, the working world, and nobody knows your name, nobody loves you, nobody supports you. Men are looking for women that will support and just give them time to kind of find themselves.
Can I piggyback on what Mr. Savage said? So I do agree with them that saying that you want at 26. So I would say you may know from a intellectual standpoint that I want to get married. But what I'm learning, I'm about to turn 35. When it starts to really click, like you like, okay, I'm a man now. I do this, that. But before that point, you're still kind of young, still trying to you're just being boyish. And so usually when men turn, and this is one of my mentors he actually told my wife this, that he's going to mature when he turns 35, and that my birthday is coming up this year. So people may know, men may know, like, hey, I want to get married, because even from my standpoint, my parents, they've been married for over, they've been married for over 40 years, 46 years, I think. I come from a family of marriage, and I knew when I was going to college that I wanted to get married. And I didn't enter a relationship. Like if you were going to be my girlfriend, I was like, okay, this person's going to potentially be my wife. And even though that was the case, I still was not ready, even though I knew that. So, yeah.
Wow, that's good. Anybody else want to answer that, boy? Also, there are nobody. So listen, I have a question. Go ahead.
No, I was going to address the point that they brought up about changing the man. And you can't change a man, because the four of us here on this call, we all know we can be thick-headed. If we're set in our ways, that's just how it's going to be. The only thing that changes a man is his relationship with God and whoever he's choosing to be with. He has to come within himself to make the changes that are necessary to carry that relationship on. You know, if you're going in and you see red flags, you say, oh, I'll go into this relationship with those red flags because I can change it. No, you can't. If you see the red flags before you get that commitment, pull back. Let him change first. If he doesn't, keep it moving.
Wow, that's good. That's good. So I just want to, we got these questions coming in, but I really want to pose some questions that was asked. One of the questions was being married fast, otherwise she got married quick. What can I do to foster a friendship with my husband?
Can I take that one? And I'll take that one because, like I said, me and my wife got married within 4 months. We met face to face in September. We got married January 1st. Okay. And the key is to just endeavor to make that relationship better, get to know each other. Honesty is going to be the big key, because see, now you get a chance to see what we look like when we make a mistake. Like how they said, diamonds get formed under pressure. And once the pressure is applied and you see how we react, the man reacts, the woman reacts. Now you have to deal with it and address it, but you have to address it honestly. Because the first couple of months me and my wife were together, we're rocky because now we're getting to know more about each other. Mm-hmm. But we went into this relationship understanding that. We also went into this relationship saying, we're going to do everything we can to smooth all of those places out, and it took some time, but it took a lot of conversation, and the key word here is forgiveness, because you're going to make mistakes, both sides. You got to understand that and be willing to forgive and go into it knowing that you're going to have to. That's where the sacrifice comes in, because there are going to be times you're just going to have to say, hey, I'll throw myself on that hand grenade. I'll take the brunt of all of this that's going on, because especially for us as men, it's our responsibility to carry this that way.
Ooh, we. Can I go, man? This is some good stuff right here. The folk on here that's watching, y'all better be taking good notes. There's good stuff happening here. I think that again, there is a real thing that has to happen, and I would like to encourage this for unmarried women who have sons. There is a need. We're finding out that men must be mentored. It's one of the reasons why I love what Apostle Rod does with Man Zone. See, there is an expectation that men know some things that they don't know. And so in this courting world, I don't use the word dating, because dating is where deception is. Courtship should be about discovering whether or not we have the capacity to be best friends. There are different character traits that I'm looking for in a friend. And not only that, I have to also, and these are things that have never been discussed with us before. Everybody has a different temperament, and nobody is thinking about temperament or the personality type, that part of us that is who we really are. Right. And when you get a person like myself, I'm sanguine, and so that's the life of the party, real social. I'm an extrovert. But what happens when you become attracted to someone who is an introvert, and someone who is very analytical, or someone who is very get it done, and I'm a procrastinator? We ain't thinking about none of that when we're talking about getting married. I just want somebody fine, bam, 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 got everything working, and whether they got washboard abs. The deception is, we listen, especially people in the church, we listen to Babylon, and Babylon is confused, and we need to stay in Zion where the dwelling place of God is. I'm out.
I just wanted to say something. The Lord gave me for dating is dangerous attractions toward each other. And basically, just like he said, you get in trouble dating, especially if you save. Well, we're not gonna touch. We just gonna hang out, and things just happen. It's not like you trying to make things happen. But I have a question, gentlemen. The thing is, so I know we as women, we've been told this, and we have kind of taken it upon ourselves sometimes to do this. If you like a man, that you will approach that man. How do you feel about that? If a woman approaches you and say, hey, I'm feeling you, you my husband, whatever they come up and say, how do you feel about if a woman, I know you guys are married, but I know you have a thought about that.
I'll say this: women shouldn't go up to a man talking about you my husband. That's a red flag immediately. That the Bible says, he that findeth a wife findeth a good thing. And so and I actually learned this, I didn't realize this too. Men should be looking for a woman that has the wife that that's personifying a wife. And so you're not just looking for a woman. You out there looking for a wife. And so I forget the initial question. Oh yeah, you said, is it okay for them to say I like you? One thing my wife, she tries to teach the young ladies that she's around, the single ones, that go places where men are. And unfortunately, not a lot of men are in the church. And so you need to go to a football game. You need to go to a basketball game. You need to you might go to the park, go somewhere where men are, go to the grocery store, go looking cute. Look at, I mean, it's a quarantine now. So most times you're going to see somebody is at the grocery store, or go to a place, go to an ice cream shop, a coffee shop, Starbucks. Go to places where men are and look at them. And show yourself, like, don't be shy. Look at them, wave, smile, and then that will give the man the clue to say something to you. But definitely don't watch my husband.
I think if I can just jump in there on that little piece right there, because I know that is the verse that everybody goes to, let the man find you. But I would like to just offer another perspective. And I think it jives with what Ryan is saying. I think it's not wrong for a woman to recognize that men don't want to be rejected. There are some women that men desire to approach that they probably won't approach, because on the inside, they're like, I ain't getting ready to take that. I'm not getting ready to take that L. But right. If the young lady says, you know what, I noticed you from across the room, or give some sign that there's a chance, then the man will pursue. So for me, I'm not ever telling my daughters in our church anymore, let the man find you. No, sometimes you got to be like, Naomi and Ruth? Ruth yes. was positioned in front of Boaz so that she could be found. And so I think that the legalistic way that was always looked at, I think it's open to just talk to some brothers who don't want to be rejected. There are a lot of men that's got fears about approaching women.
That's very interesting. Go ahead, sir.
Well, and it's got to be subtle, because you don't want to go up to a guy and say, God told me you my wife, because ultimately, there has to be a level of attraction, and for women, let me just help women, and I guess let me help women this way. Just because you're not attractive to me doesn't mean you're not attractive. And so and this is what people don't understand.
That's good.
Men like different things,
right?
Physically, personality wise. So that attraction, I met some beautiful women before I got married, but they weren't attractive to me, and because of certain things and how we grow up. And so we have to be careful that rejection, that you don't walk in rejection because you positioned yourself in front of that young man or that person, and you thought you connected with them, and he never made a move, and then 2 weeks later you see him dating somebody else. This is why you have to be prepared to talk, to communicate, to see how people feel. I'm trying to figure out the best way to say it, because with me it was always something that kind of caught my eye, made me think. And it may be a personality, it may be your kindness, it may be your eyes, it may have been something that just made me think, because some people have sex appeal. And when I say sex appeal, I'm not talking about, it's something that attracts you to that person that has nothing to do with sex, but it attracted you.
Yeah.
And that happens. And once you begin to know what you like, who you like, it makes it easier for you to then recognize those type of people and connect with somebody that you might see because if you don't have that type of attraction to them, it's going to be hard to spend forever with them. It's just going to be hard to do that. If you don't love them, if you don't have that desire, there's something about you that I was so attracted with. Again, it doesn't have to be It doesn't have to be physical, but it has to be something that connected them with you.
I can't see myself living the rest of my life without you.
Right. And my comment on that, and I'm gonna make it unanimous. You don't want to walk up to a man and say, God told me you're going to be my husband, because I've had that happen before. And I just was like, I don't know you from a can of paint, and I wouldn't have approached you anyway. So, it's just one of those things. Just be available. If you walk up to a man and say, hey, I saw you across the room. Hey, that's okay. But be available, wherever it is, just be available and carry yourself, the way you want it, the way you'd like to be, so somebody will say, oh, hey, maybe, because most men are, that's what we're in that mode where we're looking, you catch our eye, we're going to say something, but like Brother Savage said, it's got to be a mutual attraction. It's got to be something initially that says, like with my wife, it was her conversation. Mm-hmm. It was what she talked about. That attracted me to her more and more each day for 2 months. But then when I saw her, she was physically appealing, extremely beautiful. But then over dinner, that everything that we had built for those 2 months just kept going and kept going. I'm like, okay, this is where we're going to start.
Wow.
That's so true. Sonia,
yes.
let me say this real quick. I'm going to show you. So I'm going to be married. I'm going to be with my wife for 33 years this year. I was on my way. I had this beautiful lady. She was a little older than me, but I was going after her. I'm 23 years old. I made up my mind. She's going, man, I like her. I'm going to spend time with her. I had asked her to, she worked in the evening in the mall. I was going to catch her on her lunch break and just kind of talk to her, take her to lunch. I walked in the Steckities back there in that anchor store. And I was getting ready to go cut through Steckities to get into the mall to go see this girl that I love. And I looked down the way and there was this girl at the jewelry counter. She was at the jewelry. I'm on my way to see this girl that I like. I look down there, I see this girl at the jewelry counter and I stopped. And I was like, she's beautiful. And I went down there to talk to her at 6 o'clock. I left her when the mall closed. I never left that girl at the jewelry store, even though I was going to see this other girl, and that lady is my wife today.
Right.
Something just stopped me and was like, whoa.
That's good.
Wow.
It was something that attracted me. I didn't, we had never had conversations. I knew of her, but it's something that caught me, stopped me, and I said, I've got to go talk to her real quick before I continue on my mission to go. But I never left. I stayed there, and it was just, and so for me, it has to be something that attracts me, that caught my attention, and I just couldn't pass. And from that time we hung out, we talk. I also told her this. I said, so this is back when you exchanged phone numbers and you had the rotary phone. I said, I'm gonna give you my number. I want your number, but I really don't. Daryl, I don't talk. I'm not gonna talk on this phone. I'm not really a phone
things.
Yeah, you're right. Daryl, I'm not a phone person. So anything, so say what you gotta say. And I noticed I was talking to her for 2 and 3 hours. I'm like, this is different. Yeah, Something's happening here. And from there we start dating because I wasn't saved, courting and getting to know each other. And we never stopped. And we've been best friends ever since. So that's kind of my story. And so that's my lived experience. And that's why I say it's got to be something that this person is special. And then we'll work. We'll see where it goes from there.
Right.
I just want to say, if y'all ever seen the Savages pictures, they don't be doing that. They so much, it's just like dripping. They need to get a room just from the pictures. You be looking at him, they be gazing. I'm their friend, and I want to, can y'all please just get a room and take us out of the car? but that's the love they have, and that's the uniqueness. It's not that none of the pictures are inappropriate,
Right.
but you can just see the love that they have for each other. And every time I see, I'm like, Lord, can y'all just get a room?
So,
But we're going to take a station. So we're going to run some commercials. I want us to be able to answer this question right here that I posed to you on the bottom.
Yeah.
So can you all think about that? And we'll be right back in 1 second. We're just going to take a commercial break, and we'll be right back with you. Stay tuned.
Hello, my name is Diane Kelly. I'm the founder and director of Felsher Tutoring Services. We offer tutoring services for medical assistant. Here is what we do.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. We are FTS certified.
All right. Welcome back to JTOL TV. Where I am your host, Sonia Green, and just having these wonderful men on here sharing what we think we know about men, right? We think we know everything about the men. I'm trying to get it back together, fellas, so just work with me. There we go. So I posed a question, one of the women had asked, why is the, wait a minute, I just want to make sure I have it properly. Yes, sir, you remember, go ahead. Yes, sir.
Can I go first on that one? I saw it on this screen for about 5 minutes. I was just like, let me get at it. The one about why are some men seemingly intimidated by strong Black women? I would like to first and foremost maybe encourage a revisiting of that particular phrase, because I believe that women are amazing creatures of influence. And what I believe that sometimes that connotates is something that is not really wanting to be expressed. And I want to give you a biblical example of this. I often say that a woman has two powers. She has the power to activate a king in a man or a fool in a man. Wow. And it is done based upon how she communicates from her spirit. My shero in the Bible is a woman named Abigail, whose name means the Father's joy. And what I learned about Abigail is this: she was a bad woman. She was fine. She was an administrator. She was prophetic. But the thing that stood out about her was her humility and her voice. And let me say this: she wasn't no punk. She was on David's level. King David was about to throw away his kingdom. And Abigail comes out to meet him, and he needs to meet somebody that's a partner, someone who can talk to him, who when she speaks, He's hearing the Father's voice through her words. Her humility that turned him around, and his words to her was, I have respected your person and heeded your voice, because men value respect. And sometimes that strong, I gotta just say it just like this, that strong Black woman can come across to men sometimes as very dishonoring, disrespectful, and they'll turn quickly.
That's good. Anyone else want to answer that question?
Yeah, I would like to. One thing that I think this Pastor Rod or Apostle Rodney had mentioned is that men are looking for certain things, and just because you and certain people are attracted to certain men are attracted to certain women, certain things they look for, and then also a lot of just I want to put that out there that most men are not intimidated by women. They're not intimidated. If he's a man, he's not going to be intimidated by you as a woman. And so it may be something that you're displaying or your persona that may be turning that man off, that he doesn't like, and that therefore he's not going to pursue. And so it's one thing to be, and I think a lot of women need to lose the notion of strong independent, because when a wife is not necessarily independent, she's with her husband, and right. So as a wife, you're not independent. So you having them just because you're in. I think Apostle Darrell stated you're not single, you're unmarried, and so there needs to be a change of vocabulary, a change in mindset, because you can view yourself as what are the traits that a wife displays. A wife is a good wife is gentle. A good wife is supporting. A good wife is a great listener, etc. And so instead of displaying the strong, independent woman thing, display some of those traits that you may think that it's demeaning to say those traits, but it's not demeaning. Those are the things that men like. So yeah, that's true. It's okay. It's okay to be feminine. It's okay to be feminine.
That's good, Ryan, because even if you make more money than I make, even if you're balling out and doors have been open to you in corporate America that haven't been open to others, and you step into those, and you do a great job and you're very deserving of that, I have to still see you, if you're my wife, as someone who's still going to respect me and hold me to a certain standard. Because regardless if you make more money or if you've got a better job or you're holding it down, it's still going to be my responsibility as a husband to protect, to do so many. That's good there. To do so many things that I have to do as your husband that are not tied to money, that are not tied to you being able to handle your own. And so you may be so independent that the man may be looking at, no, she got it going on, and I'm not going to get the respect that I need from her to be happy. And so it's not that I'm intimidated, it is I just see that, number one, it's always rank and file. In other words, there's not many men that are going to step to a queen, to a real queen. If you're the captain of the cheerleaders in high school, certain people weren't even going to be able to come to your table for real.
That's true.
It works like that still. Everyone kind of knows where they fit in when that's a little bit over there. That's just how life works. And so I guess in order to combat that, you just have to make sure that you're showing yourself, I got it going on. But again, I'm still a person that respects, and I can be humble, I can be kind, and I can be loving. And so to make yourself more approachable.
Okay. Anybody else want to comment on that?
Yes, I'm going to approach this from a little bit different of a perspective. The Black woman, especially in this country, has had to navigate a specific type of just being from the inception of this country. And because of that, in order for a Black woman, especially to be able to become accomplished, to have the things that they need, they have to approach it a certain way. They have to be a little bit harder. They have to be a little bit firmer. They have to be a little bit sterner. Now, Rod just said something good. A real man won't be intimidated by a woman or anybody else. Just because you make more money, just because you've accomplished certain things, it's all about how you present it when he comes to you. Because a man is going to step to you. But if you start hammering him like you have to do in the boardroom, because you've had to step over so many people, you've had to throw yourself out there in a very hard, firm manner just to get to where you are. But understand, once you decide that you want to be able to share your life with somebody else, that's where the sacrifice has to come in. You have to, okay, when I walk through the door at home, that level has to come down. I have to come down to meet. Like you said, when David met Abigail, they were here. You can't have every conversation or confrontation at this level, no matter who's on top or who's on the bottom. It's never going to work that way. You have to come in at that relationship, even talking to each other, you know. And then once you do that, once you show that man, because the word says, wives, respect your husbands. And if we don't get that respect, we walk.
That's true. And what's the, I think,
and that's, like I said, that's one of those, you have to go in knowing this and making it, you know, that's what you have to do. You have to come at it at that type of level.
that's true.
Ooh.
And
You
that's
want to say
hard. It's hard because they did research for women who work in Department of Corrections, where their job is to tell men what to do, when to shower, lock up, what they can't do. And those women have a harder time, have a higher divorce rate than women outside of a prison, who don't work in a prison. Because it's hard to say, and I know that's a different dynamic, but think about what Boyd just said. If you got it going on and you're an administrator and you're getting it done and you've climbed up the ladder and you're in the boardroom and challenging, you know, you're presenting to men, you're over men, then that becomes a part of your DNA, and you have to be careful that when you go home to deal with your husband, you don't carry that same dynamic home to deal with him, to where you're over him, because part of who you are. That's what you have to put on to get where you have to get in this country as a Black woman. And I honor that, and it's been a fight. Right. But what you don't want to do, like Boyd said, the fight is against corporate America, is breaking that glass ceiling. The fight is never against Black men, other Black men. Black men and Black women, we are not enemies. We are not competing against one another. We're better when we're a team.
Can I add one more thing? And so I think a lot of women, they take on the mindset that they take their career mindset into relationships, and it cannot be that, especially when, like Mr. Boyd and Mr. Savage said, that because you had to fight your way to the top and you had to take on this different persona when you're in your career, those different skills, they do not help you when you are trying to become a wife or you're in a relationship with a man, because you may be the CEO or vice president in your career, but when you get home, you as a wife, there's a certain position you have to is a certain place you have to position yourself. And as a man has to do the same thing. We have to just know our roles and our place, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. Apostle Sonia, can I just chime in one thing? Because of course I gotta slide out before you guys get done. But I kind of lifted. This is my go-to right here. For your audience, I recommend this particular resource, and it really hammers out that women desire to be loved. I saw somebody ask the question, well, can a man help a woman to bring the balance that she needs? And this is one of the things that I love that Dr. Emmerich says. Without love, she reacts without respect. And without respect, he reacts without love. There is a cycle that goes on that, especially those of us who are born again, we've got to recognize that women desire love, and men must become educated on what love is, or better yet, let me rewind that, who love is. Love is a person. He is God. And if I've not familiarized myself with him, I can't love myself, and then I can't love you. But when men love their women, women tend to respect their men. And so I love y'all. Thank you for letting me be a part of this.
Don't leave yet. What was the name?
Appreciate you, Pastor Dale.
I love y'all. This has been a blast, man. And I learned some stuff tonight.
What was the name of the author of that book? Emerson?
The name of the author is Emerson Eckridge. It is absolutely a phenomenal read. I recommend it highly for all marriages, as well as those who are unmarried and you're preparing yourselves to become covenant partners.
Look, I thank you so much. You know you the bomb diggity on this subject here.
Yes.
I love you all.
And thank you for taking the time, sir. I really appreciate it. You didn't have to do it. You're going to teach. And this won't be our last. I'm going to have to pull this in again because these women blowing these questions up.
Thank you so much. I love you guys.
Love you too. God bless. So we just want to thank you. So here we only got a few more minutes. I want to keep you on long. So one of the things as women, what we tend to do, and just kind of help us put in some thought perspective, we think because a man is nice to us, that's the one for us. He could just be a nice guy. So how do women navigate through that? How do you know how to do it? Because we he's nice and he must like me because he did something nice. He could just be a nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
I say for me, and what I've seen, if I like somebody, I'm gonna let it be known. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm not gonna dance around it. I'm gonna tell you I like you. If I don't like you, then I'm gonna just treat you as a friend. So men have friend zones as well, just like women have friend zones. And so you're gonna know when you're in the friend zone. And I should say it like this: there's a women that you want to be friends with that you like, and there's the women that you are friends with that they just your friends. And so you always want to have a friend, be friends first, but most men are going to let it be known that they like you.
Okay. That's interesting. That's an interesting question, because I'll put it to you like this. I have to give you from my lived experience. I've always been a nice guy, but I haven't always been the guy that would have been a good husband or a good partner.
That's true.
There's a book called Men Are Like Waffles, Women Are Like Spaghetti. And what it talks about is men, we can compartmentalize anything. They have squares on waffles, and everything has its own compartment. And when we're in that compartment, we're only wanting to deal with what's in that compartment. If I'm dealing with work, I'm in my work compartment. If I'm dealing with the family, or if I'm dealing with it. But the one thing you have to understand, sex can get into any compartment. So I can be in my nice guy compartment and sex can get in there. So you have to, just because the guy is nice doesn't mean he's the one for you. You have to go so much further than that.
That's true.
Because when you look at the fruit of the spirits in the Bible, nice isn't one of them.
So true.
My wife tells me that, and has said that quite a few times. And you have to understand that just because it's nice doesn't mean it's right.
Okay.
So you definitely have to go a lot further than that.
That's good. That's good, boy. Anything for you, Rod?
No, I mean, I agree with what both of the men just said. I mean, being nice doesn't mean that someone likes you. It means that person respects you enough to be nice. And that's, but from there, so much can happen. From there, there's so much possibility that we can connect outside of this, but it doesn't guarantee it, you know, so it just doesn't guarantee it. So you can't get locked in that since he did this, you call your girlfriends and say, girl, I found the one. But what did he do? Well, he held the door open for me today. Well, no, he probably does that to everybody, so
Right.
you can't live in that world as well.
Hey, that's great. That's great. I really appreciate all what you said. Listen, we're gonna take another station break, couple of commercials, and then we're gonna wrap it up. And just tell me your thoughts. What because we out here as women, we're looking and we're questioning because we don't know. I know I have a friend, how we were friends, and how he came on. It was very different. He was telling me how much he made a year. He was building a house from the ground. He was asking me about how these specs should be, what type of appliances would I like in there. He was asking me all these questions. I had season tickets to the Piston game. He bought season tickets next to me, all this, but he would never take the next step. And I just cut it off because I felt as though you want all of this, but you don't want to commit to it. So I'm done with it. So I did what you called it, boy, compartmentalize. What is it? Compartmentalize. I put him, you're truly in the friend zone, but you will never have that part of me that my husband supposed to have. Now, was that wrong or was he running game?
You should have had a conversation with him.
I did. Yes, I did.
What did you say?
What was his answer?
So we were in the car. It was like an elephant in the room, and I would not remove the elephant. I did. I did remove the elephant because you're gonna steal it. Because then I knew you weren't the one for me.
Right.
Because
that's my point. Right.
Yeah, because you need to answer these questions. I'm going to answer you truthfully. I'm not going to play games. And so the elephant is still in the room. So what I did was, I purposely wouldn't talk to him for 2 or 3 years. And even to this day, he still remembers, you didn't talk for me 2 or 3 years. Yeah, because you wanted something in me that was valuable for my husband, and you weren't getting it. So was I right or wrong? I was right.
Yes.
All right.
I guess he was right, unless we just got back to the point that he didn't know how to take the next step. What if he just didn't know? What if he just didn't know the next step to take? Then
so these are the questions women be thinking in their head. And that's why
exactly. Yeah.
And so, and that's why the reason I didn't take the elephant, because listen, and just talking about that, for instance, because I know a lot of women deal with these type of situations. And so what I didn't present it with, you're going to do this and do that. I gave an opportunity for him to take the lead on it. And he didn't want to. He could have, but he chose not to.
You know, our grandparents and great grandparents married a lot of men that didn't know how to show emotions, that didn't know how to communicate love, that didn't know how, but they built families. They provided for their families. They loved them the best way that they could. And I just really think that nowadays we're putting a lot of stipulations on men to know, to step up, to do things that they may not be qualified to do. That doesn't mean that they can't be good husbands. That doesn't mean that they won't be faithful. They won't be. It just doesn't. It doesn't mean that, you know. And so we're here now. Remember, our grandfathers wouldn't hug us, wouldn't say they loved us. They didn't have that in them. And there's still a lot of men that don't have that in them, but they're good men and they're worthy to have families. They just don't know how to put. But again, I'm a people person, so I meet people right where they are. I don't put any expectations or stipulations. I want to meet you where you are and get to know you from there. And so that's just how I am. That's just how I am, though.
Can I just want to say one thing? It's another thing that's good, because with the man, he may not be able to express it, but he may express it to his friends. And so it's good for the woman to know who his friends are, so you can ask his friends what is his thought process, and then they can be able to communicate to you like, hey, this is how he feels. He may not be able to say it to you, but this is what it is. And so then you can have that dialogue with a friend saying, hey, I'm this is how I feel, blah, 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 blah. And the friend can be able to put the bug in the guy's ear saying, hey, you might want to do this, blah, 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 or you might lose it. So being to have that other party involved is also a good thing to have.
Ryan, so she finally meets his friend, and his friend says, so you the one he talk about all the time. you know what I'm saying? Because I can help you, man.
I'm gonna tell you,
That means you got to surround yourself with good people. You got to surround yourself with good men. And one of the things that I know right before me and my wife got married, I aligned myself with a few men that went to her church because I got a chance to talk to them, and mainly because they had marriages that that you wanted to emulate. You said, okay, how did you get to be at 29, 39 years of marriage? Because that's what I want. I want the longevity. And obviously I haven't done it right. So I've got to surround myself with men who have a like mind of where I want to go. Because you say you see, look at a man's friends and you'll see where he's going. And that's one of the things that we have to do. And one of the things that some women can suggest, you can't belabor the point of badgering, but talk to them about surrounding themselves, with friends that are going to support that type of mindset, because hey, as men, we got a lot to learn, but we also have a lot to teach and a lot to give. And until we start doing that, because I'm 59 years old and Brother Ryan here is about to be 35. There's going to be some holes I've already stepped in that he can learn from, but he'll never learn from them if I don't talk to him about it or he doesn't ask about it. And those are the things that we have to do. We have to, as men, start doing that because we only build ourselves up and each other. I say iron sharpens iron, and we have to do that if we want to be able to get us to where we want to go, but also bring these women that are looking for good men, looking for men that want to be married, men that want to raise families, men that want to be there. We have to be able to learn how to do that. And Rodney was saying it very eloquently earlier. You got to be able to, you got to learn. You've got to surround yourself with those kind of people.
Now, Sonia, before you jump in, because really listening, and I know this is not about you, so we don't want to make it about you, but we want to make it about that man that you were describing who told you about the house that he was building, who bought the tickets right by you. That's a language in its own. That is a language that he was presenting in his own right to try to communicate with you. I can handle this. I can provide. But some men, that it's just a different language, that they may not be great with their words, but they may be great at explaining it another way. So not to focus on you, I'm just thinking about those type of men that are not good at articulating with their words how they feel. They may just be showers and not tellers.
That's good. Yeah, I'd like to give all of y'all 50 cents. Y'all rocking this thing tonight. These women blowing it up with these questions. So listen, the other half of the Savage relationship asked a question where she said, how do you feel? How do you as men feel about women asking your male friends about you?
Before you get married? I mean, when you meet somebody? Yeah, my wife just nosy, so she was going to inquire. She's just going to ask a whole bunch of questions anyway. So I'll let y'all handle that one.
Well, my thing is this: if she's going to ask, she's going to ask, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. Right. But if you're confident in who you are and who you're surrounded with, you shouldn't have a problem with them asking it.
That's true.
That's great. So listen, guys, what we're going to do, we're getting ready to wrap it up. I said I wasn't going to keep you that long. We're going to jump into some commercials. And then from there, I want us to just offer some advice and some wisdom on what a man wants in a wife. Because, again, some people say, well, he's not saved. Another, before we go, I just thought about something. Some women go looking for men who are in the church, or let's say they're in the church and their future husband or their prospect isn't going to church. And then they've been married some time, and then she's mad because he don't want to go to church and he's not living like she's living. You know what I mean? So before she gets married, she has to make up in her mind again, we talked about, can you change him? And then there are some men, Ron, I know you weren't thinking about church at all.
I know I wasn't going to church. When I got married, I wasn't saved. So right.
So what, because some women say, well, again, I can change him. So I just want to put that on the table. And we're gonna go to this station. We're gonna do a couple of commercials, a station identification, then we're gonna wrap it up. And listen, guys, if you can please just share this out. This is great conversation. This is stuff that's just popping up. And I'm glad that Rod said something I never thought about, was that they may not be able to communicate verbally, but they may do it in other ways. Like, for instance, I remember somebody telling me that when animal really want to please their master, they bring them like a bird, a dead bird or something. Listen, that was some crazy stuff to me. So they bring them things that that's their way of showing that they really love and honor their master. Not saying that the man is like that, but I'm just saying I never thought about it in that way. And but I knew it was something there, but I really appreciate that. I just never thought about it in those terms. So hold on, I want y'all to keep what he said. That's some good stuff, because some of y'all out here thinking that they're not showing and you want verbiage, but they may not have been able to verbalize it, but showed it another way. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. I had to drop those commercials right quick. And so we were having a discussion. So what do you, when women they go to church, they were, I want a husband that's saved. I want him to be the pastor and all of this stuff. And then they have this perception. And so they marry a guy. He's not none of that. And it caused a lot of friction. And then here we go. We're trying to change him to be what we think he should be in our own minds. So when women do that, because we do have men and women in those situations that are struggling to say, well, the church say he got to be saved, but he ain't saved, or he may be his version of saved. You know what I mean? He may go to church, but he may not be involved in church as much. Is that some type of unequally yoked, or should she get involved with him? Or what do you think on that? What's your thoughts on that? Go. What do y'all?
No, personally, for me, a good person is a good person. I noticed some questions about, are we dealing with Christian men or worldly men? I think men are men. Just because somebody has a title, don't change them. So I'll just be honest. Just because someone says they're a Christian doesn't mean they're living by a totally different set of rules. Everybody go to church. So many people equate themselves as Christians in our country. So I just like to deal with the person, with the individual person. My lived experience when I met my wife that day in Stekules in the mall, I wasn't saved. That was in 1988. We got married in 1992. I still wasn't saved, So and I went through, my beginning years in marriage of not being saved. I came to know the Lord in 1995, and so if you're going to say I'm only going to marry a Christian man, then you're limited yourself to Christian men. But you did not safeguard yourself from a good man, because there are some Christian men that have jacked up marriages, that have cheated on women. So you're not building a safeguard just because you marry a man who says he's a Christian. And so for me, I have married women, daughters in the church of men that did not go to church, that were not saved, but it gave me a chance to counsel them. It gave me a chance to minister to them, to get to know them, and for them to get to know me, for us to invite them to church. And eventually some of them did start coming to church and got saved. So you've got to know who you're dealing with and get to know him as a human being and as a person. Because if you don't marry him because he's not a Christian, you also eliminated your possibility of you leading him to Christ as a good Christian example.
So a lot of people bring up the scripture on equally yoked, but there is another scripture, 1 Corinthians 7:14, that says, for the believing wife brings holiness to her marriage, and the believing husband brings holiness to his marriage. And so when you have a partner you have your spouse that's unbelieving, the marriage is holy in itself. And so when the other partner is not saved, the other partner brings forth, make sure that the King James Version says you sanctify the marriage. And so like Pastor, I don't know if it's Pastor Rod or Apostle Rod, I'm not sure.
It's Rod. It's either. I've been ordained as both of them, so either one you choose.
Apostle Rod said you are limiting yourself. First of all, it's a lot of people limit themselves from their criteria. And so when you want him to be saved, and then you want him to be a certain type of saved, then he got to do all you limit yourself. And so and if you want to make sure that he's a great husband, is he going to treat you right? Is he going to make sure your children are when you have children, is he going to be there for your children? Is he going to be a provider? Is he going to protect? Is he going to do the things that a husband should do? And so that should be the main focus. It's great to have a spouse that's a believer, but when you limit yourself to that, you end up single, and or unmarried. You end up staying unmarried, and that you don't want that to be the case.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with what both of the brothers are saying, because you have to understand the divorce rate in the church is just as high as it is in the world. So you have to choose. You have to make your decision based on how you're going together. Now, if you want him to be saved in the church, that's what you want, that's what you desire, then you go that way. But you have to look at the heart of the man and see what he's doing, where he's going to go. Like Ryan just said, is he going to provide for you? Will he be a good father? If he's not a father now, you've got to look at potential, see where he's going. And like you said, Rod said he wasn't in church, wasn't saved at all. That's what, 8 years, 7 years.
Right.
And then, but he came into the Lord, so it's one of those, there's going to be a lot of different things that are going to be taught at different places, different churches, and you have to see where you fit in there. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say only date this kind of guy or only date. You know, I'm blessed that I have 2 daughters that are married, and I love their son, their husbands, my son-in-laws. You know, they're good men. You know, so that's what you're looking for.
Boy, that's a great point. Because before I loved my wife, I provided for my wife, I took care of my children. My wife was happy before I got saved. Now, of course, she's happier once I got into the church and stepped into that purpose. But you can be, listen, my whole job is to preach so men would be saved. But I met good men before they got saved. I got some good friends, I know some good husbands and great fathers who don't go to church. And we were raised by a lot of them because the black church had a lot of black women in it and not a black men in it, but they still provided for their homes. Now, I am an advocate of salvation. I'm an advocate of people getting saved. But if your stipulation to your fiance, not to your fiance, to your boyfriend, to the person you're courting, to the person that you desire to marry, who's not saved, if your stipulation is you need to be saved for us to get married, well, he's going to go to a church and walk down the aisle and say the sinner's prayer without it even moving in his heart, just because that's what you want. And just because I heard someone say, well, if he loves God, then he can love me better. Well, that's if that person's relationship is genuine, if it's real. If listen, men know, trust me, men know to find a good woman, just go to church for 2-3 weeks. You have 4 girls who want to accept your marriage proposal because you showed up in church for 3 weeks. So men know that. So don't be that can't be your mindset. Even if he's in church, you better make sure that he's a good man, even if you met him in church.
Man.
Wow,
that's so true.
That's really good. And I just want to say something since I'm talking to my brothers. And listen, Rod has this man zone every year. And every year, for at least 2 or 3 years, I would go and we would be chained to the basement.
That's right.
I want to know all these men that he know. I haven't met none of them yet. I'm like, where the single ones at? Where the unmarried ones at? So I've been trying, just want to throw out there. Tiffany asks, are you all advocating for women to date men regardless of genuine faith?
No, I don't think we're advocating that. I think I can tell you it worked out well in my life with my wife. So my wife would probably be that person and say, hey, I met him. He was kind. He was nice. He was respectful. We had great communication. We were in our 20s. We were young. And so he didn't have the lived experience of being in church like my wife grew up in church. That was not my experience. So if you're going to disqualify me or a man because his mother didn't take him to church, then I just don't know how we do that.
Wow.
I don't know how. I mean, don't get me wrong. You can do that. You can have your criteria for what you want in a husband. That's fine. But I know too many good men that were not saved, that marrying a woman who went to church, finally connected with her friends, connected with her church people, and then came into the church. But I would not, this missionary dating, I wouldn't date a man to try to win him over. I would date a man because I believe that this was the person that for me, and I connected with this person, and we connected on that level. And then from there, we have to navigate and learn how to do life together. He's gonna have things that he wants you to be involved in. She's gonna have things that she wants you to be involved in. That's a part of marriage. That's a part of building a life together. So all that's kind of worked out as you go through. But I don't think we're advocating for it. It will happen. I will tell you that it will happen. But if you're, I mean, because people have that, Sonia, you need to marry a Christian man with these certain beliefs who was baptized in the name of Jesus only. If you put all these stipulations on your future husband, then you're going to limit yourself, and you may not find that perfect person.
Right. And I'll say this. I agree wholeheartedly with Apostle Rod said. too many times, and we see it today, women have this list that disqualifies the man off rip. And so he got to be saved. He's not dead. That's one disqualification. You lower your percentages of meeting a man. He has to be a certain height. That's lowering your percentages. He has to make this certain amount of money. That's lowering your percentages. He has to, be athletic or like sports. That's lowering your percentage. And so you have all these stipulations on this list, and you're lowering, you're disqualifying hundreds of thousands of men based off these particular lists that you have. And so it's okay to want certain things, but when you so gun ho on he has to be this, he has to be this, he has to make this, you disqualifying yourself. And it could be a man that don't meet none of those criteria that you have. And what you're going to do then? Just because he doesn't meet this criteria and he's a great guy, you like him, but I have this list. Now you just in the same position that you are, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I'll always say, listen, kill that dream list. That's all it is. It's a dream. I always say that. I in myself, I had that list because that's what they teach you in the church. Write down what kind of man you want. You don't even know if that's the kind. You don't even know yourself, right? God knows you better. You know, God knows you need a husband. And we always say God knows the number of hairs on your head. He knows your thoughts before you think it. Then why wouldn't he know what you already need before you have need? You know, he already know this. So get rid of that list. And because that's your fantasy list, because that list might not even meet the need that will make you whole. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying, you know what I'm saying? So I just really, really appreciate it. Go ahead, bro. You want to say something?
No, just real quick. I wasn't saved, and I shared that with you because out of everybody I had been dating at 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, I met my wife. I met my wife at 23. She was the first girl that invited me to church. She was the first one that invited me to church. So if I'm disqualified because I wasn't saved, nobody had even invited me to church. So I mean, so once she found out I didn't go to church, okay, she invited me to church and we started. I went to her church a few times, and later on we got married. I met her pastor. Going through marriage counseling was the first. He was asking me questions and explaining the Bible to me. I was learning. I'm not even saved. I'm just going through the classes. Marriage counseling. I was like, interesting. So shortly after being married, I didn't jump into it. I'm working. I'm still sitting at home on Sundays because Sundays I watch the Lions lose. I'm drinking my 40 ounces. That was my life. Okay. So I'm going to watch the Lions lose and drink a 40 ounce.
All right.
About the Lions. You didn't have to say
We're going to start with.
Right. Eventually. I don't drink 40 ounces no more. So I'm a little more patient now.
But you trying to say the Lions still lose, right?
Yeah, but the Lions still lose.
Yeah, they still losing.
I just don't drink Coke 45 no more.
Yeah, the Lions are still losing.
I drink communion juice now. But after a period of time, she invited me and I started going, and then God drew me. And I received salvation. We got married in 92. I got saved. We got married in October of 92, and I got saved the summer of 95. So it wasn't even a full 3 years, but that timing is a perfect timing to God.
Right.
That's perfect timing to God. So you people might say, well, I was still 3 years where you guys were unevenly yoked. That's perfect timing for God. Here I am traveling the world, preaching, teaching, folks getting saved, baptizing folks. It's just, I think we put our human limitations on God and want God to supersede them and overwrite every stipulation that we put in order to bless us.
Amen. So I'm sorry, Ryan, go ahead.
I just want to say this one thing. I know that all of us are believers on here, and most likely the women that are watching are believers. But if you notice, just think about it. Are there, other than the men that are on here, are there other men watching? Most likely not. And so we have to we at women, like I said earlier, and we said earlier, you have to position yourself where the men are, and unfortunately, like I said earlier, then most men are not in church, and so you have to, and for you to have that the right criteria that the man has to be saved. Just, I mean, like we Apostle Rod said, we're not advocating that people get married to somebody that's not saved, but find a great guy, a nice guy, and let God work on them. You can't change them. Let God change them. Pray for them. That's when you marry, you ask when he sleep, lay your hands on him, pray for him, say God save him, and your husband will see the God in you, and that's gonna draw him closer to God. Say God give him dreams, whatever, let him encounter, and you are one flesh, and when you marry, you one flesh, and so you're gonna have, God is gonna answer your prayer as a wife to do something for your husband.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
my wife is on here saying invite him to church.
Right, that's your wife. Eric is your wife.
Yeah,
that's awesome, man. But let me tell you, so we do that, and like you said, there are way more women at the church than men. I had a dear sister meet a man, he wasn't saved. She invited him to church. One of the women on the praise team stole him from her. She ended up marrying him later. And listen, you got to understand what's going on. This stuff is crazy. So when you go to church, there's no men there. When you invite him to church, now you got to fight off the other church women from spotting that.
Women that's there.
My God, it's like, oh my goodness. So that's, man, it's tough. But that was a good point. There are not many men in church, and so you can invite them there. But when you invite them there, trust me, it's a lot of other women that also are thanking you for inviting him there too.
Look, God said he was on his way to meet one of the chicks. He was determined to get with her, and he saw Savage down there looking like a fresh biscuit with some gravy on it. And was like, I stopped. I forgot, I don't even know her name.
I forgot who I was going to see.
So listen, gentlemen, boy, do you want to say anything on
No,
that
I'm just
subject?
saying this has been just a tremendous blessing just to be able to be a part of this panel and just to listen to what these brothers have had to say and to deal with the questions, and hopefully we've shared enough or just a little tidbit of something that everybody that's watching will be able to take something away from it. And if we can do this in front of some men, then maybe that'll be a whole lot better.
So I have learned a great deal, and especially from you guys. And just like you said, just from my experience, I had to change me. It wasn't so much them, but I had to change me. And then once I changed me, I found that that I had that he got to be saved. No, I want him to love God. That's the criteria. My biggest thing. I want him to love the Lord. He ain't got to go to church. If he loves the Lord, he'll hear God.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I just want to recommend this also too. One of the great things, Fred Hammond had a CD out called God, Love, and Romance. It is a CD. It's been some years, but it's a CD about a husband and wife being unmarried. And he kind of plays the thoughts of men talking, what they're thinking when their wife is praying for them. And it's an excellent CD. If you all can go, it's been out some years, but it's a great CD. So we're getting ready to wrap it up. And I just want to hear you guys' thoughts, and then we're wrapping it up for that. So Rod, can you please just share your thoughts? And the question, to pose the question again, what do men want in a wife?
What do men want in a wife? Men are looking for someone to help them build their life. They're looking for a partner. They're looking for someone kind, someone that will respect them, even when they're struggling. They're looking for, I was looking for a partner. I was looking for someone I can grow with, because you can get married at the wedding date. 3 years later, you've changed. 5 years later, you've changed again. So you got to find someone that has those characteristics that you're attracted to, that you are attracted to, that you can love and be loved back. So I think men are looking for, I would probably say kindness, very kind women. Men won't. I know that may not be popular, but I'm telling you, man, all this drama and all this negativity and all this, man, men want to come home and have a nice house and have some peace and have a kind woman greet them.
That's good. Ryan?
I was going to say one of the main things that men will be looking for is someone that is gentle, especially for, unfortunately, I'm just going to say it, like, and women, and they have this, they say it, we don't say it, the women say it, strong Black woman, and so that comes across a certain way. And so when you have a woman that is gentle, it you notice that. You notice it when how she treats people, how she speaks, and especially like you coming home. I think Apostle Rod brought it up. You coming home from work, and you come home, you want to make sure that somebody that's not coming home that's going to beat you down once you came from work getting beat down. And so someone that's gentle, someone that's fun. My wife is funny. I love that she just someone that has an overall good personality and just a good person. And just like women want a good person, a man wants a good person as well.
Brother Boyd.
Okay. A couple of words that I heard both of them say, partner and definitely personal. You want somebody that has strength, that's going to be able to stand there and gird you up, as well as be able to withstand what's going on, being able to withstand the pressures of life. When you walk into that house, you want somebody that when you had a bad day, you can unload that on them with their understanding that they're just there to help you through it, not necessarily to tell you what to do or anything like that, but to help you through it. You want somebody that's going to be there, with open arms, but sometimes you want somebody that's going to be there to be able to tell you the truth. And you've got to have somebody in your corner that's going to tell you the truth, and y'all have to come to an agreement on how that truth is going to be told. It's going to be hits and misses in all of this, but we have to be able to be amenable. We have to be able to meld together. That one flesh can't be like this. It has to be like this. We have to be able to come together and hold each other, talk to each other, and that's what you want in a wife. You want somebody that no matter what's going on, the good, the bad, the ugly, you've got somebody that's going to go through it with you. My wife came up with a phrase, Team Uden. That's what we are. It doesn't matter what happens on the outside world. When we come in this house, it doesn't matter what happens really in this house, because there are times when we can have some, difference of opinion. But at the end of the day, it's Team Uden. And if you have that one person that's going to be there with you through thick and thin. That's what you need. That's what you want. Because everything else can be adjusted.
That's good.
Wow, that's pretty dope. I really love the wisdom you guys had. I want to thank the other half of Team Uden. She's been cracking these questions and typing stuff in, and I really appreciate you, Tara. So I just want to say, guys, I really, really appreciate you revealing some things and sharing some intimate things with us as women. And I also, one of the ladies that wrote on there before we go, she said, what if you had a hard day and you come home from work too, basically? And I want to say to this sister, listen, here go my spiritual ears tingling. Sis, one thing about it is women, and I think Boyd touched on it when he said we have to realize where we come from as women. Number one, we are the least to get married, not because we don't want to get married, but it's because the way that came down from slavery, it was something that they just kind of destroyed the family, so we really don't get married. Number one. Number two, I think Rod said, or either Daryl said, that basically one of the things is that men have to be taught how to get married. How do you approach this? What's the next step after courting or dating? And so that's what I kind of gathered out of it. And then the next step is to be mindful that men don't want to be rejected, just like women don't want to be rejected. And so what I'm telling you, my two things is this. Well, first, women, we have to get healed of our own emotions. We have to see we get our vision together and be able to have great vision to see. Because if you're still consistently getting into relationships and the outcome is either I'm breaking up and you're not a kid, you're breaking up, or you are having issues, then you have to look at yourself and say, okay, if it's me, let me get together. Because that's what I had to do. I had to, let's say, Sonia, it's you. Let's get Sonia together. And still people may say, because I'm one that will speak my mind. Now, I'm kind, I'm nice, I think I'm funny, I think I'm great. I think I'm all those things, but I will speak my mind, but I won't speak it into the point where I'm disrespecting you or dishonoring you. And so we have to be mindful of our tone and how we say things and how we present it. And, you know, get in the mirror. A great example is go in the mirror and practice and see what your body language is saying. Because you could be thinking one thing, but your body is saying something else. You know, so we have to look at all of those things. And remember, I just want to say this. Your husband is going to love you, the one that God has selected for you. Can I just say something? Oh, I just heard this thing. God has put many men on the earth. I don't know who said this, to choose you. You just got to be in the position for one of them to find you.
Yep.
It ain't just one. So don't let that concept of one man, one, it's not out there. There are many men out there looking for you. What you have to do is stop looking for the one. You're looking for that one Denzel Washington guy, and if he don't fit that mold, then that's not the one. So we have to change our vision on how we see things. But anyway, listen, my brothers, I am so proud of you. I thank you again for being part of this conversation. I'm so proud of you. I admit, we're gonna have to do this again, because when somebody said this, where are the unmarried men? We did invite the unmarried men in. They got scared because the married men were on here. So I did invite some unmarried men, and so, but you got to, most of my area or surrounding is around a lot of married men. So that's, so that's how it kind of lays out. So it's not that I don't know, and I don't know a lot of unmarried men. I know more married men than I know unmarried men. So, and again, thank you guys again for being a part of the conversation at JTOL. And listen, if we're thinking about it, why aren't we talking about it? And I'm glad that you guys have become part of the conversation. Look, all of these men are on Facebook and they are married. So don't send them anything crazy. But if you have questions, you have some things you want to, ask them about, please just send them an email, and they will, or send them in their inbox, in their Facebook, and their wife will filter it and share the question, and then he will reply back. Amen. I just want you to know there is an order. They got their wives, they're fighters, so you don't want to mess with them. So,
our wives will definitely let you know the order.
Yeah, so I just want to bless you guys. Thank you all. Please stay on the line, man. Please stay on the line. I just want to thank you all for joining us on JTOL TV, where it says if you're thinking about it, we're talking about it. God bless you. You have a wonderful night, and we will see you at the next meeting.
Join us here next time on JTOL, Just Thinking Out Loud, where we ask and answer questions no one is willing to ask.